So, this should also clarify a little bit more about what I do on my channel. When I have these ideas spring to mind, I like to think about why we think about games in a certain way. And recently, after finishing a modern title, Tears of the Kingdom, I've been thinking, what is going on with the scope of games? There's a few ways that I want to throw this at you. So, modern gaming, it seems like every year, the AAA developers are just making these games longer, bigger, packed with more content. And personally, as a completionist, it becomes almost impossible to keep up with just not even 100%ing these games, but even just doing all side quests or doing all types of a particular content in a game. So the fact that AAA games are growing in scope, if you have any completionist tendencies, how the heck are you managing your time, and are you actually engaging in all the content that these games are providing? And yeah, I think if you want me to clarify any of those, it's kind of a three-part topic for you to attack here, but primarily focused on the completion aspect. And as these games get bigger and bigger, which I think is the trend for AAA games, how the heck are we meant to do all the stuff in all these games?
In high school. But neither you or I are there in the traditional sense. So for me, when I was in college, my friend Gavin had an Xbox 360 that he let me play on, and he had Skyrim, which was huge at the time. Before that, I had played Oblivion on PC, and I think I got through most of the Oblivion gates, not all of them. It's too much to chart, but I definitely seen all parts of the map. So when Skyrim came out, that was a game that I easily put a few hundred hours into. And, you know, we're both Pokemon fans, so I think we like have a little bit of that, you know, I got my Grookey here, collector's sense in us. We like to just collect as much as you can, as much as the game will let you. And there's always some satisfaction in just getting what you can. I think at some point, you have to come to terms with, like, depending on your play styles, that you will not be able to do this for all games that you play if you hope to play a wide variety of games. So there are certain games that I will complete. And I think I have, like, not rigid rules to it, but essentially the game just has to make it accessible enough to me as the player. Recently, this year, I completed Pokemon Legends Arceus. I caught every Pokemon that you could catch natively within the game and got the Arceus segment at the end. Caught my Arceus, I used it for one wild battle, and then boom, never touched the game again. But I consider that complete. Other games, like where it's like Resident Evil 4 Remake, where it's like, okay, you got to shoot the little toys that are going bing, 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 you know, in every corner. I'm good. You know, like at that point, I don't think that has value to me, like when I'm playing the game. Versus with classic games, I think they're a lot easier to complete because it's just the same set of rules. You know, it's just playing it. You know, I consider those complete if you can do it authentically with no save states. You know, I know that in the speed running community, there's like all sorts of rules and stuff. Like I don't care about
categories,
that. I just care that I'm not abusing save states to beat it. So recently I've done that with the 6 Mega Man titles. I've done that with Castlevania 1, Castlevania Bloodlines, Super Castlevania 4. You know, I've completed those all authentically. With modern games, especially AAA games, it's just too much. It's too much. And the line was really drawn for me was Tomb Raider Definitive Edition. I think I played this before I played Breath of the Wild. I think I owned Breath of the Wild at that point, and I might have started it, but had been like, I can't get into this right now. When I played Tomb Raider, it just felt like I was playing Skyrim too. I felt like these shrines are just caves with a reskin, and the mechanics just feel like Prince of Persia. So am I playing a unique game here? And that game sort of just symbolized modern gaming trends and video games.
Open world.
To me, I never hated those two words more than after seeing the credits in that game. And I've gone back and I've tried Breath of the Wild when I had some time in the summer, and I couldn't. Maybe it's just because of, like, you know, being a rigid content creator, but I couldn't find time to just sink in like that. I don't know. But it's weird, you know, like, because there are some games, even recently, just this year, that I completed. So,
Yeah, there's a lot of ways to take this. I guess I'll touch on one and I'll just back out of it really quickly because that's a whole other discussion. But games that are just drawing from being open world, even if they're not like true open world games, which what does that even mean anymore? Because now people expect sandbox in their open world. Well, it's not necessarily an open world. Do you just want no loading screens? Oh, but then the game's not big enough. So I know a lot of developers are trying to draw from different open world inspirations. I'll leave that topic alone for now. Just wanted to throw that out there that I haven't played Tomb Raider, but when you mentioned Skyrim, I wondered if it was drawing from that. The other thing, one thing I've remarked with Tears of the Kingdom, and this is where the completion, you have to draw a line. Otherwise, you will be playing the game for the rest of your life, or at least for the indefinite future. They have started to reward the player for doing a bunch of seemingly miscellaneous tasks. And I get it. This is great for the completionist. This is great for just providing more rewards throughout the game, even for the casual player. But something like killing all of a certain enemy now, if you do that task, you get a medallion, a monster medallion. And so, what is actually 100% on the game? When I go and check off on how long to beat or whatever, and there's the option for 100% main game plus side quests or just main game, I'm like, well, I know I did side quests. I have that whole list checked off, but I didn't get monster medallions. So I guess I didn't 100% the game that I just spent 250 hours with. So that is, not many games are going to do the Tears of the Kingdom scope. But you mentioned Pokemon, and that's another really good one too. Yeah, technically, I've never 100%ed a Pokemon game, or at least not since Silver, when I actually had the whole Pokedex and all badges. But especially with games offering post-game content, and not just Pokemon, but that's a really good example of one. What? To say that we truly beat Emerald or completed Emerald, are you and I going to have to do all the battle facilities? It's just something where because I identify, I guess, as somebody who's like a completionist. It's just something that when I like the game, I'm going to pursue more of those endeavors. I'm going to want to achieve more in the game. And I've got a little bit of that obsession, that neuroticism on Steam, where when you get that 100% achievements, you get the badge too. That feels nice. So I do like getting it. And it's a bit of a shame when a game that I really like, that at 100% just seems out of reach. Whereas with some of these crummier titles that you maybe beat in 8 to 12 hours, it's just like, oh yeah, there's a few secrets here and there, 100%. But again, I wanted to keep it limited to maybe talking about AAA games, which Pokemon definitely falls under, Skyrim falls under. Oh, and I'll mention this one more comparison to Skyrim, because this just also blew my mind. And speaking of Steam
I like
achievements.
Steve achievements.
They are phenomenal. Ladies going for Steve achievements, good luck.
He's taken.
Yeah. So my Skyrim playtime to get all achievements in the vanilla version was about 75 hours. And that's multiple playthroughs and also having a lot of casual fun. And like I just said, Tears of the Kingdom, technically not getting 100%. 250 hours. I told my brother that. I just gave him the comparison. Here's a game from about a decade ago, 75 hours. Here's a game I just played and beat, a month ago, 250. What is happening? And I wonder, since I'm not playing as many modern games as I should, are Final Fantasy 16, Tales of Arise, which I'll get to. I'm listing JRPGs there, but even other games, God of War, are these suffering from the same fate as Tears of the Kingdom? I don't know.
Well, see, you get a medallion in Tears of the Kingdom, and I don't know, you're going to have to correct me on some of this stuff. You get the Skulltula in this game right here. I've never got all 99 Skulltulas. Didn't matter.
Yeah.
I'll get them to the point where, I stop knowing where to look on the map. They're kind of in cryptic, weird, nonsensical making locations. At one point, you have to play a Song of Storms under a random tree. I don't know why they know that.
Pop out, yeah,
but I know. Yeah. But I think when it starts to defy the logic, if I have to go outside of the game and consult a guide for that, even though I 100% of the Arceus thing, the way that you evolve 5 of the Pokemon are a complete joke. I don't understand it. To get the Ursaluna from the Ursa Ring, I think it's Ursaluna, you have to evolve it at night and have used the move 20 times or something, or that's for like the Bascullion or something, Bascullion.
Yeah.
And they're like 5 Pokemon like that. The rest of the decks is fine. So I don't understand when a game does that. That's one. The two is, I think if the thing is trivial, it's just a bonus. I don't think a game suffers for that reason if the core game is good enough. I'm not plagued by completionist necessity. I think the issue may be platform centric because, you know, Steam makes it appealing to get, or Steve makes it appealing to get his badges.
Thanks, Steve.
Thank you, Steve. Not Minecraft. Switch doesn't really have that problem, and then Xbox, you know, okay, I'll get my little jewels or so whatever, and maybe sometimes they'll give me like $1.25 and a gift card or something. But you know, I don't feel that same like OCD, you know, feeling of like I have to do this.
It is a compulsion for me. I know that. But the Skulltulas are actually a good one because there's a couple things you can contrast to the modern day Zeldas. I mean, Ocarina of Time was a smaller game, right? No one can debate that. But something, if I imagine Ocarina of Time and taking some of those things here, first of all, just to fill you in on Tears of the Kingdom, imagine, that 99 Skulltula hunt, but for let's just say 4 different categories, 4 different things. And what I was talking about with the medallions is imagine if you had to go and kill every Stalfos in the game. That gets you the Stalfos medallion. If you killed every hand, master hand, I think, that's Smash Bros, but whatever, every wall master, that gets you the wall master medallion. So that's the extent at which they've padded the content in Tears of the Kingdom.
You're selling me on Tears of the Kingdom. Why? You gotta stop. See, that sounds fun. That sounds like a hunt. You know, like you're hunting for, like there's something like a good feeling that I think comes with that. Like, I did that. You know? I don't know.
Could you do that for sometimes upwards of 60 of an enemy? I guess though, but you're the type of person, you don't mind necessarily getting that number down to 0. You enjoy just the casual aspect of completing something, which maybe is a bit of an oxymoron. But like you said, like you don't have the compulsion that I do necessarily. So you might even just be satisfied seeing that, there's only 20 of that enemy left in the game. Cool, I'm good with that. But for me,
I think it's like kind of like, I don't know, like you can kind of create your own goals too. Like, I guess I have a very, like, formulaic mind. Like, if I had that system in front of me and I had, like, 25 Stalfos and, 35 Waltulas or something, just for example, I would go hunting down Stalfos first. Why? Because, like, that's the easier one to cut off. So, like, if it's got to be, like, it's, in the teaching world, we call this, stuff smart goals, specific, measurable, whatever.
Oh, yeah.
But, if it's attainable, like, if I feel like I can do it and it feels, realistic and it feels like it's a good use of my time, then I'm going to do it, and for a series or a game I care about, like, I'm trying to think what else, like Dragon Warrior Monsters, like I think, or Dragon Warrior 3, you get like monster medallions in the Game Boy Color remake, and those are always fun to hunt for too. So I don't know, like, and the thing that I like about Dragon Quest I think is kind of understated is just, is the art style. A lot of people say, oh yeah, Akira Toriyama, just as like a badge, but to his credit, those monsters look good. There's a reason we play Pokemon. The monsters look good. There's a reason I don't play Phantasy Star. The monsters look like ugly slime, or bugs. And I'm like, I don't want to, like, I know, like, the point is, like, you're killing it, but it's not a pleasant thing to look at on screen. Persona is another one, like, even though they're demons, rooted in mythology, they're really cool. And so SMT5, a Shin Megami Tensei game. I was so close to 100%ing it. What stopped me, you had to play the game 4 times. And the story
different endings and the hard mode boss.
You had to play the game for 4 different endings, and within each path there are demons that are unique for you to get. So you can't get them on every path. And at that point, and the story was already kind of just not great. At that point, I just burnt myself out. I think I had
Hmm.
97% of the Demon Compendium complete, and I dropped it.
Yeah. You bring up a really interesting fork now, which is, yeah, what do you do with these games that actually necessitate New Game Plus to get everything? And Dark Souls was probably not the first game that I experienced that was like that, but I think it was the first one where I actually was on board with it. And I've talked about just kind of my foray into Dark Souls before, where the game really took a while to grow on me, and I'm getting beat by pretty much everything. And I get to a point in the game where I'm actually just stuck. And I'm going to blame my build, and I'm going to blame the boss, and I'm going to blame everything. And I give my save to two of my buddies who seem so confident that they could kill this boss with my build. And sure enough, they do. One does it first try, and the other does it on a second try. I restarted the game to make it a little easier. I made a cheap build, and I was so hooked. I loved Dark Souls so much that Dark Souls 1 for me, in my top 50, I even put it above Elden Ring just because of certain things that it did. There's a game where, because I loved it so much, I can go through the extra effort and the extra time involved to get that 100%. Yeah, New Game Plus 2, I think, was required. I did it, and then some. I'm going to go back to a popular series here, Pokemon, because a lot of the audience are going to be familiar with these mechanics. Imagine if you had to breed to get something unlocked. You had to breed a certain amount of Pokemon or with a certain variety of species in order to get something unlocked. And I'm sure there are people like me who, well, actually, I don't even know my own thoughts on this, because on one hand, part of me goes, you are locking content behind a type of way to play the game that may not necessarily entice every gamer who likes this series. On the other hand, well, what's wrong with that? You know, Nobody is actually telling you you have to get every single reward. At the end of the day, it comes back to a me problem, and I shouldn't necessarily complain about having more content. That said, and this might be my final, variation on the topic to mention for now, I don't think the old systems of side quests and hunting and all that stuff are antiquated. Like, I think, for example, I mentioned how could you actually make Metroid Prime an even better game? And it wasn't to give it all the glitz and glam of a modern title. It was just something like you keep the game basically intact, but the inclusion of some very simple side quests in the style of, I don't know if you have played BioShock and you've collected the data logs that are around, the recorders and stuff. Something like that to fit the world, because in my opinion, the heart and soul of Metroid Prime, that sounds so pretentious, but I couldn't think of any other words. The drawing point of Metroid Prime is the fact that the exploration is phenomenal. It's one of the best games for exploring and just taking in the environment and the world and the ecosystems, the different creatures that appear. So if you can make something like the side quests and the completion integrate into the exploration, great.
Do you not
You
feel
mentioned
that the artifacts that you scan for that count towards that percentage are sufficient?
they're good. They're good. I think that I was kind of building on some new ideas where you can tie even more lore to it. If you could even tie it to other games.
Yeah.
If you just replay the Metroid Prime and you go through the first 10 minutes or so, the very first encounter with these glass cells that clearly contain some specimens in them. Some of them are broken, some of them are not. Just imagine having one of those scanning things, and then Samus gets a call from, I don't know, the Federation or whoever.
Mhm.
Samus, uh, that information's critical to whatever mission. You need to do this. And all of a sudden, it gives you just another little thing that you could pursue while you play the main game. You could
Yeah.
do it. You don't have to. If you do, great. Counts as completion. Really simple.
I could see
Just,
that. It would at least compel you to do that more. To like, because I've never gotten all the artifacts, but I've always thought
right.
it was cool to read. Like, I always thought that was like a very sci-fi thing. Like, I almost like
Yeah.
that. It's just like, here's these like little logs. So
Yeah.
I almost like, while I do think it would be cool to get that, I feel like it might sacrifice some of the isolation and the sci-fi feel for Metroid Prime.
Well, the idea I thought of when because I actually spent some time on this, when I saw those glass cases all broken, you know what? Don't even necessarily make it have to do with the human federation that you work with, but just there's a new mystery here that just gives more lore about the planet that you're on. It's like, oh, the space pirates were actually doing something. It's been so long since I played the game through to completion that I
Mm-hmm.
can't necessarily remember how all the parts go together in the story. But I just thought, kind of the point is, and why I bring it up on this topic is just that it's a much less involved thing. It's not a collectathon, right? And I guess the more I talk about this, the more I realize maybe my issue is just there's too many collectathon aspects in all of these games,
Mm-hmm.
and a little bit of separation in how you go about just doing these tasks in the game. But hey, developers, not that you're listening to little old me, but by all means, don't stop putting more content in your games. There's going to be so few people like me who, and it's not even meant to complain about it. It's just like my own grievances with, oh, we're getting older. Oh, we got less time for things. I would love to 100% every game that I play. Even something like Yoshi's Crafted World. The reality is, I kind of have to give the game a once over, go back to a few spots, and then call it a day. I got to move on to other games. That's all it comes down to. But I like more content, sure. It just sometimes you get the feeling like either you're abandoning a game too early, or yeah, sometimes you don't want to put the game down.
Well, I do feel if a developer is so concerned with adding so much content to the game that perhaps they are missing the forest for the trees.
Mm,
But it's also about what sells. It's not necessarily about
yeah,
artistic integrity anymore. So it's really complicated.
yeah.
I don't like, can you make a new God of War game and have no like completion aspect whatsoever? I mean, I guess you could have side quests or something, but I think even of Gears of War, like, the stupid cog tags or, I don't know if you've played
Oh
it.
yeah. I played up to Gears 3, I think, but
I only
I
played
remember
the
collecting
first one.
tags.
I remember those cog tags,
Yeah, yeah,
and
yeah.
to me, you don't need that. The game would be just as, you know, commendable for what it did.
The James Bond, the 007 games even have them, right? At least in some of the like GameCube onward games, where if you do certain stunts or you go to certain secret areas, they do reward you with these little emblems. Have you seen those? The
I
gold
only played
007?
Nightfire and I played it for the multiplayer, so I don't remember the
Okay, because
story at all.
Nightfire was the game I was thinking of. For example, in one particular level, you can take a zip line, and when you take that zip line, if you do something like I don't know, perform a kick and shoot somebody before he notices you, you get the 007 thing. It's like, oh yeah, that's the secret spy move right there. You just didn't go guns blazing. You did it the way James Bond actually would, and you get rewarded for that. I can't recall if it counts for completion, but I think this is kind of why I said that the old way of doing things isn't necessarily antiquated or out of style, because it still works. You get a little reward on screen. People
I
get their little dopamine rush,
I
and
will say, because my game for racing game, it's not up yet for Racing Month for the button mappers,
yeah.
is kind of a similar game to Outrun. I don't know if you played Outrun on the Sega Genesis.
Mm,
Outrun's a 15-minute game. It's a driving game, and there's a bunch of branching paths. There's five or like 4 to 5 forks in the road where you can pick the A or B path, and then once you get to the next one, you pick the A or B path. So you can
nice.
have so many unique ways that you play the game, but you could also play it once, and you can have a great time doing it. The
Like
one
Star
that
Fox 64, right?
yeah, Star Fox
Gotcha.
64. When I played the new one, it's like 36 like levels, and you can get first place medals in each of them, and then there's like a final boss one, and then there's a time trial. Sometimes I think, and not this is not for AAA titles, but even for indie titles, they're like swamped with
Yeah.
this stuff too. It's like I just don't care. I like why
Yeah.
I I don't need you to make this to padding, or this filler to make this experience longer, because the game is already just, it's good. It's not bad. I appreciate what they're doing, and they're bringing the spirit of Outrun, but at some point enough's enough, I
Your
didn't spend
your
$10 on a
metaphor.
game to spend, this indie game to spend 20 hours on it.
Yeah. No, your metaphor earlier is correct. Like, are they going to miss something in the development of the game, pursuing a lot of these little oddities and addictive features, or for whatever reason they're putting in? I'm assuming just to be addictive for continued gameplay, right? But yeah, you would probably be more inclined to pursue those things if they, in addition to them, had a better storyline
Hmm.
or just something, or the gameplay was a little more involved for you, something about it, right? Something. And look, credit to Tears of the Kingdom. It's going to sound like I didn't have a good time with the game when it's my favorite game of all time,
Hmm.
because I actually did pursue so many of these little hunts. Koroks are basically the equivalent to Skulltulas. They are the hidden things
Yeah.
that you have to find on the map in all these obscure locations. And I think I legitimately, meaning not even any in-game assistance, there's a mask you can put on to kind of help sense them out. Even without that, I got a little under half of them. 500 out of 1100, if you're curious. Imagine 500 Skulltulas. Even if you played Ocarina of Time 10 times, you
Which I
might
have.
not get 500 cumulatively,
Yeah.
right? So the game did a lot of things really well. The collection aspect in the game was so well done, and maybe just by sheer abundance, it made people feel like they weren't necessarily missing out if they didn't do everything. I don't know.
Time will tell. I mean, everyone has different tendencies, and some people they may like it. So
Yeah.
I think this is a great
And
segment. Yeah, go ahead.
I guess just for me to put my clothes on this little segment, because I realize this isn't something where people are going to have a right answer or a wrong answer, but that's the kind of thing I like to talk about. This is something where you get a sense of different people's tastes and their opinions when it comes to games. So this is kind of the way people are going to react to this is more of what they like, what they want. And I encourage people when they take to the comments and if they want to talk about this section in particular, what would you implement in game design, or what are your favorite things in game design when it comes to the collection aspect? Is it not even an afterthought for you? Maybe this is the first time you've ever thought about collecting things in games. Who knows? So yeah, obviously with an open-ended topic like this, and it's something that's purely opinion-based, no right or wrong answers. It just comes down to taste, and do you like what developers are doing or not? At the very least, do you recognize the same trend that I have, that with more and more modern AAA games coming out, holy moly, we are just never going to 100% these games anymore. That aspect is lost, at least.
The
Yeah.
only right answer is your answer. So, viewers at home, let us know your answer in the comments below. What do you think of completion in the modern gaming landscape? Thanks, Legend of Leo.
Thank you.
Excellent. Yeah, I love that. Completion. And that's something anybody can jump in on too. So, good topic.
Yeah, no matter what era you played games, there was some variety of that in the games. And, even in the arcade style games, maybe they would entice you to beat the game once over and then keep putting more coins in to play it the next time because you might get a color change. Your costume might just go from red to blue. So it's like, oh, I have to see that to get everything. And then people take that to the next level. I have to beat the boss with that different costume for it to count.
Wearing Link's
Anyway.
pajamas in
In Wind Waker? Yeah, yeah, yeah. Oh, I did that. I did that. I had to beat it.
Guilty.
Yeah.
That's
Oh,
funny.
that's funny.